This is episode number 5 of Extracting Wisdom. You're not going to want to miss this episode. We have FutureDDS with us today. Stick around. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Extracting Wisdom. My name is Brandon Evert, and today is a really special episode because this podcast has its very first guest hosts on the podcast. We have Tyler Brown and Tyrell Fridie. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. And these guys are from FutureDDS, so thanks for being on the podcast, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, man, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So I want to start off, and let's talk about how you guys got involved in dentistry and, why you picked dentistry as a career over other healthcare professions.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start. This is Tyler speaking. Hello, everyone. So basically, going into college, I knew that I wanted to do something within healthcare. I didn't know if I wanted to go to medical school. I didn't know if I wanted to go to dental school. I didn't know if I wanted to, run a hospital. I just really did not know. So while I was exploring my options, I actually went to a summer medical dental program. I don't know if you all have heard of SNDEP, but I did that program at UCLA. And while I was there, we were exposed to, different medical school classes as well as dental school classes. And, I just really, really gravitated more to the dental aspect of the program. And when I got back to school my junior year, I decided, let me just really go hard with the dental curriculum or the pre-dental curriculum, and that's what I did.
Sweet. And Tyrell, how about you?
For me, I'd have to say, again, I always had kind of a draw towards the healthcare profession, just helping people out, and always want to be involved with that. And it's funny, I actually started out my experience shadowing my uncle. He's a pharmacist. He was a pharmacist up in New York. So just seeing how he interacted with patients and just the different people that came in every day and him helping them out, giving them information beyond just the regular prescription that they're getting, stuff like that. That kind of sparked it. And I thought about medicine first and being a doctor, but I couldn't deal with the trauma and the blood. And I just really thought about could I do it every day? And I really didn't like that aspect of it as much as maybe the artistry of dentistry. And that's really what I kind of see dentistry as an art and, transforming people psychologically, just their smile, being able to, helping them get interviews, stuff like that. So there's a lot more aspects to it than just teeth. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I initially started off thinking I wanted to be a pre-med student and eventually be an orthopedic surgeon. But I was at a physical to play varsity baseball my senior year of high school, and my doctor was like, well, Brandon, it's about that time. What are you going to major in, and, what are your plans for your life? And I said, well, I think I'm going to be an orthopedic surgeon. And he just let out a big sigh, and he walked over to the wall and started banging his head against the wall. And, he told me, before you make a final call on going into medicine, why don't you go check out a dentist and shadow a dentist just to see if you like it? And, of course, so I did. And what I found was that, dentistry is an art, just like you said. And, you don't play a single role like a doctor does. If you're a doctor, you're just the radiologist, or you're just the surgeon, or you're just the physician, but as a dentist, you get to see this complete transformation, from beginning to end with your patients. And you get to play all of those roles: radiologist, surgeon, physician. You get to do all of this on a day-to-day basis and be a business owner if you have a private practice. So that's what I really love about dentistry.
That's awesome.
So how did you guys end up meeting? Did you guys go to the undergrad together, or did you go through the same master's program? Is that where you guys met?
Yeah, it's actually funny how we met. I was in the master's program already doing the 2-year track, and I met Tyler at a summer program, a SNDA program. He was actually working for Oral Health America at the time, and had no clue I would have been going to school with him or, being roommates with him.
Random.
So I ran up, we randomly ran into each other. I got his contact information because he was looking at Tufts as well. And it actually turned out that he ended up doing the master's program, same master's program. And we got in touch randomly through another person that I went to school with. So it's funny how everything unfolded.
Everything connected.
Yeah.
You never know who you're speaking to. And it was one of those situations where, I had met this guy, a couple of months beforehand, and then I just happened to now be living with him. And it just worked out. So now we're in Boston together. living here, tackling on dental school, and it's just everything worked out,
Small world, man. That's crazy.
Very, very
crazy.
So I know we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, but what made you choose Tufts over any of the other schools that you guys applied to? And what was special about it? What, in your eyes, made it stand out?
So personally, before I even started to apply to schools, I didn't know, I had never heard of Tufts, to be quite honest. Being from the South, this being so what we consider to be extremely north, I had never thought about Tufts at all. What really, really turned me on to the idea of attending this school was we have a program called I Did that we're both a part of. Before we knew we were both a part of it, I knew I was a part of the program, he was a part of the program. Before we knew each other, we both had joined this program. And our advisor, Dr. Holloway, she actually suggested Tufts as being this great school that I just had to apply to. And so once I did apply, I had a bunch of other interviews, but once I did come up to Tufts, once I saw Boston, I fell in love and decided this is where I wanted to go. So,
yeah, it's kind of similar situation. I actually got introduced to dentistry as a whole by Dr. Holloway through the IDEA program. IDEA is just increasing diversity in dentistry. That's the name of the program, based out of Georgia and Atlanta. But like I said, she's just a really good, I guess mentor mentor to look up to, and just follow behind. So she gave us invaluable advice. I mean, just like helping me out with getting to the conference, like SNDA conference. She helped me out with that exposure. Helping me out finding the master's program, helping me out, with application process and preparing for the DAT and stuff like that. So, just everything with that. Like, again, it's just funny how things unfold. And one lunch with Dr. Holloway, who was my IDID mentor at the time, and now she's a more influential part of my whole dental school career and my projection as a professional, in the field. So
wow, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Tyler, I was in the same boat as you. I didn't hear about Tufts or even think about it until I met Dr. Kasberg.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of the reason why I started thinking about Tufts, and he actually worked at Indiana before he went to Tufts.
Yeah, he did. Indiana, so did Dr. Holloway, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's how they know each other.
Yeah, she had a practice out there, actually. Yep.
Small world.
Yeah, so he actually comes down once or twice a year to Indiana's health fair and meets with students individually and kind of advertises Tufts a little bit. And I knew Tufts was going to be a great school just based upon who he is as a person.
Exactly.
And just such a warm guy and really easy to talk to. The thing that amazes me is that he didn't even push Tufts that much. When we sat down and met one-on-one, he asked me, how can I make you a better applicant to dental school? No matter where you end up or what schools you end up applying to, I don't care. I'm focused on bettering the future of dentistry. And, I thought that was an amazing way to approach meeting with students. So, of course, I made my way out to Tufts for the interview, and I had my interview on the 15th floor. Yeah, and that boardroom up there, beautiful view over seeing the city.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Did he give you all the quiz?
Oh, yeah, he sure did.
Yeah. The history of Boston.
Yep. And I'm sure he loves doing that. And, of course, not everybody knows the answer.
Right,
so.
Of course not.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, I had a similar experience with Dr. Kasberg. He came to Morehouse. That's where I did my undergrad. But he came down and he was just meeting with different students that already knew they wanted to go into dentistry. And Dr. Holloway was just like, "Yo, there's this guy, Dr. Kasberg. Just go talk to him, spend 15 minutes, and just tell him where you are, and he'll help you with a little blueprint." And first thing he said was, "I don't really care if you come to Tufts, but I want to help you in whatever way like you said, whatever way I can." So that warmth, and when I decided to choose schools, like that's one of the first things that I really thought of when Tufts came back on the radar.
Right.
And I heard the name again. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Tell me a little bit about FutureDDS. What made you guys initially start doing your weekly vlogs and both helping pre-dental students and dental students and documenting your experiences?
Right. So it was actually funny. I remember, I think we were near the end of our tenure at our master's program. And I was sitting there and I was just started, we just always sit and you ramble with your friends. And I had brought up the idea. And literally, we had another roommate at the time, and I think I might have even been talking to him. But literally, Tyrell came out of his room and was like, "Bro, I was thinking about doing the same exact thing." And so literally, we just kind of laughed about it. But then we came to school, and we kind of kept talking about it. But then the actual first week came. And after the first week of classes, we kind of just looked at each other and we were like, you know what, let's just do it, you know? And I'm sure the same way you feel about your podcast, I think that's like the hardest part is literally just setting up and actually producing the content. And so, you know, we started talking and we were like, okay, what can we make this? What can we actually make FutureDDS to be? And we thought about what we actually needed when we were pre-dental students. Because, you know, there's a lot of people who want to become dentists but don't necessarily have a lot of information. There's definitely information out there, but not a lot of, you know, personal just advice on how to get in. I mean, unless you're talking to maybe your career counselor or whatever that may be. And so, you know, we looked at it like this, like, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and help people the way that we wish we were helped back when we were applying, as well as why not document our entire journey? You know, this is going to be somewhat of a lookbook, because when we, you know, at the end of college, at the end of your college experience, we both wish that we had, you know, had some type of documentation to like see where we had came from as far versus like first year to fourth year. And so we said, you know what, that would also be a great addition or a great plus to doing this whole process. And FutureDDS was born.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, you know, that's the same exact reason why I started my podcast. I'm actually the president of the Hoosier Dental Club here on campus.
Okay.
And, you know, that's my whole goal, is to give these younger students something that I wish I had going through the process.
Exactly.
You know, and sharing all those little minute things that, you know, you pick up along the way that aren't necessarily talked about.
Exactly.
And that's why I went on this past December. I actually published a little book called The Ultimate Pre-Dental Guide.
Okay.
And, you know, it's the same thing. How do I write a personal statement? What are the things that I need to include in the personal statement? And I also added an AdSAS application checklist because, you know, there's so many things that pre-dental students need to keep track of and complete. It can get really overwhelming. So I was just trying to break everything down, just like you guys do in your videos.
Yeah.
You know, a video at a time, a chapter at a time, and just break it down and make it simple for people to follow and understand. And, you know, I think when people go and talk to their counselors, especially, you know, they throw a lot of information at them, and it can get overwhelming. And I think it's a lot easier for pre-dental students to hear it coming from somebody who's going through this process right now.
Exactly.
And, you know, I think it's really beneficial for them to see it from a student's perspective who's gone through that process.
And something else that's awesome about the entire experience, and that we hope that you do as well, as far as like when you continue to go throughout your process, what we're going to do is continue to document so that, you know, first year dental students can look at our videos and get something from it. Second year dental school students can look at our videos and get something from it, because we do focus, of course, on the pre-dent, but I mean, both of us right now, we need help right now on certain things.
How to handle, you know, stuff in the lab,
Exactly.
different procedures, just how to handle patients, like little things that come up.
Right,
Where it's
right.
like, dang, I wish I had like literally me that went through this, you know what I mean, a year ago,
exactly.
you know, like that would tell me exactly what I need to know.
And like for our school, we're fortunate enough to have like a little big system, whereas we have an older classmate kind of be able to coach us throughout processes. But I don't know if every school does have that. And if they don't, they can always look at our videos as resources to help them get through whatever they need to get through. So
Right.
definitely.
Yeah. That's sweet. And, you know, that's sort of my goal for this podcast, too, is to document my experience, because I think that's going to be helpful for pre-dental students and for them to understand what they're going to be up against before they even get to dental school.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, I love your guys' videos, and I'll be sure at the end of this podcast, I'm going to leave links to both your Instagram and your YouTube channel in the description or show notes, so everybody can find you and connect with you.
Awesome.
So really what I wanted to talk about in this episode is kind of the transition from, you know, undergrad or a master's program to being a D1. What is that like? Is that a huge jump? You know, what should you do kind of maybe the summer before to best prepare to be a first year dental student?
I guess I'll start with that. Do you want more of like my story from undergrad, or do you
Sure,
just
yeah,
want the
that sounds
summer
good.
transit? Okay.
Go for it, yeah.
So I guess my story from undergrad, again, the only experience I really had from, you know, knowing that I really like, I guess in dentistry, was shadowing my uncle when I was younger as a pharmacist, and then my relationship and the interactions I started having with Dr. Holloway and Dr. Casberg. So, you know, that kind of started, I guess, getting the ball rolling. So throughout the years, you know, like you always say, we have the dental awareness week, or you might have certain schools coming to visit, but you don't have a consistent, you know, person always in your ear, or always like telling you like, okay, if you're going to dental school, like dental applications are coming up, you should start doing this now. Okay, this is coming up, you should start doing this now. So it kind of parlayed me into having to do the master's program. It's not necessarily something I wanted to do, but I'm definitely better for it. And I'm glad that it ended up taking me down that path. So basically at the end of my undergrad, I was a psychology major in undergrad. So I didn't have a lot of my science classes, and I actually needed to get that foundation. I applied to school after my undergrad, and I didn't get in, but a lot of schools, you know, my DAT score wasn't bad, and I had a lot of extracurriculars, and they could tell that I could do the work because I did a lot of other stuff, and I had a big workload. But, you know, you definitely need the bios and the upper level bio courses. You need those upper level chemistry courses and just a little bit more exposure to the field and really knowing what the experience will be. So, you know, ended up getting into the master's program. I did a 2-year program there, got my master's in biomedical sciences, where I ended up meeting Tyler and everything. But in that time, I was able to really streamline my focus of like what I wanted to do, and knowing like, okay, I know for a fact, like dentistry is what I've chosen as a career now. It's not something that I'm interested in. It's not something that I've just heard about or talked to people about. It's what I'm seriously pursuing. So I really just sat down and I took a different type of ownership of like what I was doing at the time, my classes, my grades, and really taking ownership of the process from getting into that program and not really knowing where I would go after not getting into dental school the first time, to really knowing, okay, I need to take these steps and I need to get on these, like utilize these building blocks to know that I'll be a better applicant next time, and know that like, okay, I'm geared for success. I'm geared to take the next step and be successful when I take the next step, and not have to struggle or, you know, have to rethink or not necessarily be sure of what I have. So that was really it, man. That was like my biggest path from undergrad to my master's, is just really getting more comfortable and more confident in my abilities, and being more comfortable of like knowing exactly what it takes to get in, what it's going to take when I'm in, and knowing the outlook and seeing it, making it tangible, man.
Right. So having taken those master's courses, or those undergrad science courses for that matter, how do those compare to some of the science courses that you will take in dental school? Are they similar? Do you think that undergrad prepared you, or your master's program prepared you best?
Well, at least for me, I didn't take that many science courses in undergrad. So I was a healthcare management major. So I did take the basic prereqs to get into dental school, but even then I don't feel like I was as prepared as I could have been. So when I went to the Barry Master's program, Tyrell actually did his program in 2 years. I did mine in 1 year. So it was an adjusting period for me, because I was taking these higher level courses as well as taking them at an increased speed, accelerated speed. At that time, I was getting out the nicks and gritties or whatever. Like I was going through those turmoils then, but I'm glad I went through those then, the transition between undergrad and the master's program, rather than doing it now. Because I'm more adjusted to that speed, and I'm able to keep up with everything as well as do other things. You know, a lot of people will go to school and that literally be it, you know, and that's not a bad thing, because that is, of course, primarily what you're there to do. But, you know, if you're somebody who, you know, loves to explore the city, or you want to have, you know, any type of extracurricular hobby, us being our FutureDDS channel, you having your podcast, things like this, if you're not adjusted to certain speeds of the classes or whatever it may be, you might not necessarily have that time. So the master's program definitely afforded, I think I could say both of us, the opportunity to produce different things.
Without a doubt.
Definitely.
Without a doubt. I mean, and now just to, I guess, speak on content, it's like the classes that we're actually taking now, you see a lot of the stuff again.
Definitely.
So it's not that it's like everything is you don't have to go back and study and everything. It's still really hard. Don't
right, yeah.
Don't get messed up. But it's like the things is like you have this foundation where it's like, okay, once you see it, it kind of clicks again that, okay, we're talking about bacteria, we're talking about virus, whatever the case may be. And then you just have to put on the extras that they want you to know specifically. Or like the extras that you might need to start studying for boards, or little things that like, okay, we're talking more clinically instead of just speaking in general biochem terms, or we're talking, you know, more dental related when we're talking about anatomy instead of just learning the whole body and the systems, you know. So,
and I think that I can say that, you know, at least as far as first semester, every science course that we took in dental school, we had taken in the master's program.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that's helpful.
it was literally like back to back. So
Like
that was really helpful.
this last class we had was essentially the med micro course that I had taken, along with some of like the oral path course that we took at Barry. So it's like you get pieces of everything, and once you start taking so many courses and seeing information in so many different ways, you just start laying it out in a way that like it makes it digestible for you. You know, like when you don't know anything, the only experience you have is how someone's teaching it to you. So if you don't necessarily grasp it that way easily, then you kind of out of luck, and you got to grasp it on your own some way. So, it has its advantages, man. I would definitely say it's a big advantage to, take that time, and gain those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely right. So is that what you think from your experience? Is that the hardest part of dental school is the speed at which the content comes at you? Or what would you say is the hardest part of dental school so far that you guys have experienced?
The amount. I just say, well, I don't know. I guess we're in a different situation from or I guess people in the masters are in a different situation. But I've seen what I've seen from like people jumping straight from undergrad is just the level of work and the amount of extra time you don't have to get it done. So, like, I don't know. Okay, so I'll say for instance, systems based learning. You don't really do that in undergrad too much. So now when you have to get adjusted to taking a test every single week on stuff that you've never seen before, and then you're literally getting a lecture of new material maybe a day before the test.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like just getting adjusted to that and having to really be held accountable. There's no homework. There's no like, okay, little assignment to get you prepped for this. There's none of that. It's like, okay, you need to get this project done. You have class at this time, you have lab at this time. The rest of this free time, you need to be optimizing it. And most people, I guess it's just a maturity thing of like being able to sit down and say, okay, I have to knock this out right now, or I might not have the opportunity to do it on the weekend if I want to go live a regular life, or I don't have the opportunity to go just sit back and watch Netflix and chill with my friends, or sit in the caf after I eat lunch and talk for an hour and a half, so.
Yeah, I think that to piggyback off of that, I think definitely the hardest thing about dental school isn't necessarily even the classes. It's really just the balance, Because, for instance,
you burn out. Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's very, very easy. It's very easy to burn out, and you have other commitments. Say you have a girlfriend or you have a boyfriend, they're going to continue to want time from you. Your parents, they're going to want to speak to you. If you have a pet, some of our classmates have pets. I mean, you have all these different commitments that you have to make sure that you balance, and like making sure that you're able to give the adequate amount of attention to each thing. That's kind of hard, and I mean, there will be times when you do feel like you're burning out, but when those times are coming, that's when you have to even go harder, because you can't, I mean, maybe in undergrad, I'm not sure who's gone to whose undergrad is like, what's it like there or whatever it may be, but you can almost take a day off and be okay. Whereas in dental school, you're not afforded the opportunity to burn out. You can't just take 2 days off of class because you don't feel like, looking over the material. That's when you put yourself in a position where you really fall behind.
Yeah.
And then, you have other stresses, i.e. failing classes, which is a whole nother realm. If you think these classes are stressful, think about being in these classes and failing them. So it's a lot different, So like Tyrell said, maturity, like you have to be mature and understand that, at the minimum, when you're doing something, focus and really do it. Like put your phone away, make sure you get those things done, because things tend to really pile up in dental school, and you just can't afford to fall behind. So I think that's the hardest part of the whole experience.
I would say just like, my bad.
No, go ahead.
Like, maybe like in a semester in undergrad, you might have a big semester project for the class, or you might have a big test at midterms, a big test at finals, and that's it. And you have 8 weeks, 9 weeks to prepare for one test, and then you have 9 weeks to prepare for the final, which a lot of times isn't cumulative. So it's like, in the grand scheme, you have a lot of time, and it's just managing it in undergrad. But it's so many other distractions that aren't related to your career when you're an undergrad, per se, that like, that might be, I mean, and maybe that is it, just like having that new experience of maybe being out away from your family, if you're living on a dorm now and stuff like that, and gaining experiences of life to really grow up and really have those experiences, so that when you decide to focus your career and get to the point of you're going to professional school or master's program or whatever, that you can say, okay, I've done that before. Maybe I can put that to the side now, focus on this, and maybe pick it up later. And you'll get to the point where your schedule and your routine becomes so consistent that you'll start to see gaps in your schedule. You'll start to see times where like, okay, I could do this differently and have an extra 30 minutes, or I have an extra 20 minutes here to watch a few YouTube videos, or have an extra 30 minutes here to watch one of my favorite episodes of whatever, instead of sitting down binging for 3 hours.
Right. So pretty much what you're saying is the biggest part is just time management.
Time management.
Oh, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's the key word, time management. That's it.
So how do you guys manage that? Do you guys have a planner, or do you guys put all your events in your phone?
Too many.
How do you handle that?
I personally live through my iCal, I guess that's what it's called. I've definitely changed my sleeping habits. Whereas, I used to wake up at 8, go to class at 9, be up until like 11:30, whatever it may be. But now I actually wake up at 5 a.m. Just to make sure that I can get like all the little tedious things done throughout the day. And you just knock them out. And I even study in the morning because I feel like I retain more information in the morning anyway. But literally, like my iCal, I'm literally looking at that probably 10 times throughout the day and just staying on track. And then you can even optimize your schedule, right? Whereas, say I think that, say we have to do a weekly essay or whatever it may be. If I see that I'm scheduling an hour for that, but I only might need 25 minutes, I literally will just change it on my schedule, adjust it, and you just keep going, Yeah. So just becoming the most efficient student that you can be, and that's just how I use my iCalendar.
Yeah, so it's like you can definitely prep it like that. Like I try to do that a lot as well. My thing is more on the back end of just being reflective. Like I know a lot of times I know what I have to do. Like a lot of times everybody knows exactly what they have to do. People know how much time it's going to take them. And a lot of times, it doesn't take you that long. So you wait till the last 2 hours, 4 hours, day, however long it's going to take you to get it done. So, just sitting down at the end of the day, I'm very reflective at the end of the night before I lay down. I tend to read, just unwind and just get the day off of me, like getting that stress off of me and starting planning for the next day. Because once you plan the night before for the next day, you already start to like think through how it's going to go before getting up, trying to plan it out, then figuring out when it's going to fit in, how it's going to go on stuff. So knocking that out is definitely like one big thing, starting with the iCal. And I pretty much always have a little moleskin or like a little book of just little things to write down to make sure I audit. Like, okay, I said I wanted to do this. It took me 3 hours to get it done, where it could take me an hour the next day if I just sit down, or I don't do this in between. And I'll put down, you write down exactly what got you, or what messed up your, your concentration, or what distracted you at that time, so you can try to avoid it the next time. Like,
exactly. That's true.
Yeah, literally. That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on and sharing all your tips and, all your wisdom on extracting wisdom.
Oh, man. No problem, man. Thanks for having us again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. So thanks again for being on the podcast, and I'll be sure to leave all your links in the notes after this episode. All of our listeners will be able to find you guys and, experience your videos and vlogs and hopefully take something away from it and learn and become, better pre-dental or dental students themselves.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you,
very, very professional.
No, thank you.
And this is a great idea. I mean, people can't watch our videos and drive, but they can podcast.
They can
podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So no, this is a great idea, man. Love what you're doing.
Yeah, keep it up, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. And same goes to you guys. So thanks again for being on the podcast. Have a good day and take care, guys.
Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you again for tuning in to episode number 5 of Extracting Wisdom with Tyler Brown and Tyrell Fridie of FutureDDS. Make sure you guys go check them out. And if you guys enjoyed this podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss a crucial episode that'll help you get one step closer to your dream career in dentistry. Once again, my name is Brandon Evert, signing out.